coming to week 2. I loved reading all of your questions last week on the post-its. I answered some of them. They were really easy to answer. I emailed some of you. And then a bunch of them I just like kept on record for what to cover the rest of this class. And I also really enjoyed reading your assignments, particularly the questions that you submitted for today's session on defining success and failure. And we are lucky to be joined by some upperclassmen from our very own informatics program. Do any of you know either of the folks up here? Can I get a show of hands? No one knows these folks? What the heck? Wow. Hi. Are you a panelist?
No.
Are you a student? Okay, cool. We'll find you a seat. Yeah, I'm sorry if that's the only one that's left. If we need another chair, we could maybe steal one from next door. We might expect one more panelist today. We'll see if they show up. Yeah, I'm really glad that we have some upperclassmen joining us today. And I just want to remind us that I am recording this session, both video and audio, and that's why this creepy owl thing is sitting in the middle of this table, because it is capturing actually quite a good angle of the people that are speaking. So we did intros last week. I don't mean to call out the people who were not here last week, but because part of this class goal is to foster relationships and community within the directed MITs, I think it would be helpful if Kelly, you're able to do quick intro. You don't have to answer all of them, but maybe you can answer 3 of these for us. Oh, okay. I'll read it for you. Your name is Kelly. Okay, sweet. And then maybe a few of these that you feel comfortable sharing.
Sure. I guess I consider
Sweet.
how did I find out about info? I was applying to UW and my mom just like materialized next to me and she was like, pick informatics. I'm like, okay, I have no other ideas, so all right. What is one goal I'm working towards? I guess just seeing if info is a good fit for me as soon as possible. So I want to be
Okay,
6-1.
cool. Awesome. Thank you. Everyone else in the room shared last week. I'm sorry that you don't get to hear everyone else's responses, but I'm sure they'll be happy to share with you at any time. Just want to make sure, was there anyone else who wasn't able to make it last week? Everyone was here, right? Okay, cool. I think we can close the door now. Thank you. So we will meet our guests, which ended up being just 2 folks instead of 3. But if we could have both of you share, what do you want to become after you graduate? You are not expected to know the answer to that question, but a student in this room actually submitted that question as a part of their assignment. So most of the questions that we will be covering today, these are questions that were crowdsourced from the class itself. And then the second question was also a question from the class. How do you respond to the question, what is informatics?
Yeah, I can start. Hey everybody, so my name is Alejandro Wante, and I'm a 5th year. I prefer the he, him pronouns. Also, I don't know if you all noticed, or if you went to orientation, I'm the president for the Informatics Undergraduate Association, so that's why you see my face around some places. So if you have any questions about that, how to get involved, let me know. What I want to do with informatics, so I'm really passionate about project management. That's something I just love, juggling a whole bunch of things and delegating tasks and making sure projects are where they need to be and meeting certain aspects in curriculum. And also, I'm also very open. So like, I'm also open to like software programming and stuff like that. And then what is informatics and how do I explain it? I kind of explain it how like we're the intersection between people and technology and how they interact with it. I like to give the analogy that people always kind of think of CSE. So I give the analogy that CSE, if like it was all like as a skyscraper, CSE is the steel beams that make it up, like the hardcore, so like, what am I thinking? Hardware, yeah, that's the word. And then informatics is what we build that everything. So everything that people see, the design, how functionality on the inside and everything. So I don't know, that's how I explain. I always find analogy always working really well for informatics. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of gonna say. But okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm Simran. I'm a fourth year or like a senior. It's like second time I've said that in like 2 weeks. It's really weird. But I'm graduating at the end of this year, and after graduation, I plan to like, so I'm doing like a focus track in data science, and I plan to like pursue like a job in the industry in data science, and then later go on to do like a PhD, doing some research, because like my end goal is to go into industry research, and I can't do it without a PhD, which is sad. But yeah, and what is informatics? I think I also say it's like people and technology in the intersection. But the way I like to explain it, especially to like fellow students, is that CS focuses a lot on the theory, whereas informatics focuses on the applications. And that's very clear with like the way our classes are structured, where we're taught the skills theoretically, and then we're asked to build something in teams and present it again. And I think that's like the full circle of any product or any kind of technical skills, is we're able to see how can we actually apply them to the real world. So.
Right. I like the CS analogies that both of you used, because I think computer science is, to the general public, perhaps a little better known than informatics. To go along those realms, so I, as you know, I used to work as a career advisor at the iSchool, and we talk with employers who are also unsure of what informatics is. And one of my colleagues at the iSchool who raises money for the iSchool, so his role is to meet with employers and ask for money for our school. The way that he answers that question is he says something along the lines of, when you look at technology-driven organizations and technology-driven teams, informatics students often end up being the ones that manage the CS grads. I know that could come off as a little, I don't know, but when we do look at where our alumni end up, that does happen often. And I think a lot of it is because the emphasis in the informatics program is not just on programming and not just on coding, but also on the team leadership, also on the interpersonal skills. So oftentimes informatics grads end up being a little perhaps better prepared to take on managerial or leadership roles on top of the technical foundations. Okay. So you can use whatever language is comfortable for you, but that's just what I've heard some of my colleagues explain. And both of you shared a little bit about, now that you're near the end of your degree, you kind of have an idea of what specialization or focus area that you might want to pursue after graduation. May I ask, did you come in knowing that? Or did that evolve over time?
Yeah. Well, I came in kind of just like, I want to do informatics, but I don't really know what I really want to do with that. And so I just like, based off like the introductory classes, like the Info 200 class and everything, I actually found product management. I didn't even know it was a thing. And that was, as soon as I found it, I was like, this is me. Like, I love talking, but I also like to delegate tasks with groups. And so I'm like, this is 100% me. So I kind of found it within informatics. And then I also have a focus in data infrastructures. And that one I just randomly found spring quarter when I took one of the first data infrastructure classes. And it just kind of clicks with me in my head. So I was able to hopefully pick that up and contribute it to the track.
For me, like I came in thinking I wanted to do CS, and I didn't really know what software development was. My dad had told me like, oh, there's this new thing that's coming up called data science. You should look into it. And I was like, okay, cool. But like when I took CS classes, they never really talked about it. I took Info 201, and like I took Info 201 and CS 143 at the same time, which was the worst thing you could do. But it like taught me a lot about the way people in CS like teach a problem versus the way people in Info teach the same thing, like similar technical concepts. And I think that really made me take the decision of like, I can't be in such a competitive environment, and like Info is more like targeted towards like what I want to do with data science, and like that interested me. And that's how I think I like came about data science and like started taking classes and like applied to informatics later on.
Could you repeat what are those two classes you took at the same time that you would not recommend other people do?
CS 143, which is I think Introduction to Programming 2, and Info 201, which is Technical Foundations.
I did that too. It's rough. I had to drop CSE 143, so.
Are any of you taking either of those classes right now? Oh, wow. Okay, cool. But not together, right? Awesome.
Smart people.
So I'm gonna just like reiterate some things that y'all say in case you missed it or things that I think are exceptionally important. When I was reading your assignments, the questions that were submitted, there were a lot of questions about coursework. There are a lot of questions about academics, and I think we have to spread them out over the quarter. I don't think we can answer all of them today, but if I feel like there's something that's being said, I'm going to repeat it in case you missed it. So in terms of the content for today, I read every one of your assignments. Some of you submitted it late. So my philosophy on lateness is if you submitted it before I'm grading it, it doesn't matter. But if you haven't submitted it when I'm grading, and I grade after the official deadline, then you're gonna get penalized for it. Okay. So one of you submitted late, but it was still within my realms, so I gave you full marks, and I just said look at the deadline next time. One of you submitted it really late, right? And it was way beyond when I graded, so I took a point off, right? Just so that you know there are consequences. But like my desire is that everyone gets full points for every assignment, and it's really just to keep you engaged. It's not really to penalize you. I'm not here to penalize you. I have some questions that I prepared today, and these are meant to just guide our conversation. We don't have to stick by the things here. But when I reviewed the 3 times, I think there's 20 students in this class, 60 questions that were submitted, there were a lot of commonalities. So I tried to group them, and I prioritized the ones that were being asked the most, and also were very relevant to today's topic of success and failure, right? So we can start with these, but at any point, if you have a follow-up question, you're welcome to ask. You can, do this, or I don't know, whatever you feel comfortable, but it's not meant to be like dictated by what's on the slides, essentially, right? So I saw a lot of questions of, there was a question of like, what do you wish you knew before when you were first year? And thankfully, I asked all the panelists this question in the form that I asked to complete it. So these are actually the responses they submitted verbatim, right? Verbatim, 2 of them had very similar themes. And I think the top 2 responses were from the 2 panelists that are here today. Yeah. So a lot of talk of not to compare yourself, asking for help, using resources, resting, right? So the first question that I have for the panelists is, what has been the highlight of your experience as an info major so far, and what has been the hardest or the worst? I'll give you all some time to think if you need a moment.
You can start.
Okay. Highlight of informatics is honestly the community. Everyone is so awesome, and everyone wants to help you, and everyone, even like the professors, because I actually struggle a lot with depression and anxiety. So there's sometimes when I just physically can't make it to class and mentally make it to class. And so I talk a lot with my professors and let that know, and they're understanding. So whenever I can't make it to class or just I'm not feeling well, I let them know, and then they send me the things I have to do by the time and the things that we go over, and it's okay. And that's something that I love so much because it's a hard thing to go through, especially through school with that. And just to have people who help validate it and say it's okay and to help me out and navigate me through a different route is amazing. And especially also with the students around, they're so amazing. What's the second portion?
The hardest or the worst?
Oh my gosh. The hardest, I mean, for me personally, I'm not really too strong as a programmer. So the hardest thing for me is getting concepts down, and I need to take a lot of extra time compared to other students. I know I said don't compare to other students, but I have to take a lot of extra time, and I realize that, and I'm okay with that. But that is the hard part, just spending an extra hour or 2 on a concept that should be easier to grab. So, yeah, did I answer?
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think the the highlight is again like the close-knit community. It's hard to like find like your people in such a big university. Like it's nice to like walk around campus and see people you know from your info classes. And you also kind of get to know everybody when you take classes because you're like in groups and you know someone from like 340 or something like that. The other thing is like people are really flexible, especially like professors. They're always like there to talk to you about anything, which is kind of hard to find. And like I never like imagined people to be so like empathetic and understanding. And then I think the hardest part, the two things. One, sometimes it gets a little annoying to like keep explaining to people what I'm studying, like outside of like UW, or like sometimes even within UW. Like if you go to a career fair, they're just like they take 10 minutes like just understanding what informatics is. Okay. And then what's the second? Yeah. So I think this is a little like data science specific, but like data science is also very complicated just as informatics. Like it's like CS, statistics, and business. And like I think informatics does a good job on like CS and business skills for me. But like for the statistics skills, I have to do like the minor outside of informatics. Which gets like a little like tiresome. And I just wish like it was part more of like the informatics curriculum at times.
Cool. Does anyone have a question before we move on? 'Cause y'all are really quiet. I don't like it. Yay, question.
How do you join Ayuga?
Yeah, so actually, so first year, so we do something called first year representatives, which is a chance for individuals that are coming into the program 100% new, to see how it is to be part of Ayuga, because we're the ones that do help a lot with orientation, I-squads, graduation, bonding events, making sure everyone, and also expressing their concerns to the higher ups. And so we're kind of like the liaison. So it closes on Saturday, so you can still apply. I don't know how do y'all know? Excuse me. Do y'all know that Ayuga has a webpage on Facebook that you can join and see everything? Okay, because I've seen a lot of people that don't know. If you don't, look it up online, and I'll like let you join the group. But it's on there. And then applications to be an officer starts on spring quarter, end of winter quarter, start of spring quarter. And that's when you can get a chance to apply. And then Informatics as a whole holds an election, and then they choose who's going to be what in the positions. So, yeah.
So in terms of joining, I think any informatics student is officially
Yes.
a part of the club.
Yeah.
Whether you join or not,
Mhm.
there's no membership fee,
Yeah. No.
there's no initiation, there's no orientation, you're just enrolled in it.
Yes.
But if you want to get involved, I think attending their events is a great way to get involved solely before you decide how involved you really want to be.
Mhm.
But if you want to be like super involved, then some of the opportunities that Alejandro mentioned are great opportunities. Do that.
And the Facebook page is the best place to find those events.
Yes. Yeah. That's where we post everything from bonfires, LinkedIn events, company tours, everything.
Yeah, their Facebook page is bomb.
We try.
So in my previous role as a career advisor, I supported all the programs at the iSchool. So there's an informatics program, there's a library and information science program, there's a MSIM program, there's a PhD program, there's 4 programs at the iSchool. But I supported all the student organizations at the iSchool. That's how I got to know some of these folks. But like, I mean, okay, I might be biased, but they were definitely the most active on their Facebook group. And they like regularly posted not only events, but also like recaps, like what happened. Was that you that posted last year? About like quarterly updates of like, this is what we've been working on as Ayuga. Yeah, I forgot who updated.
Neha.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone posted, I was like, this is so good. I was like, all the clubs should do this. Of like what the officers are working on and what's coming up next. A lot of photos. So you're like, if you're not sure if you want to go to an event
Mhm.
and you kind of want to like know what it's like before you go, you can click through all the photos.
And then there's also threads on there as well that you can navigate. So like, who's worked at this company and what was their
Yeah.
experience? So people talk
Gems.
about it, interview experiences,
That was
how
really
different how different companies interview,
Yeah.
their fails and successes, and then so
Hookups.
And
Good
it's,
stuff right there.
yeah, and it's also like people who've like graduated from informatics are still part of it. So especially like with the interview thing, that was really helpful because like you say like, oh, I'm interviewing at this company, and like people would be like, oh, I'm working there, like DM me, and like it just like made all the connections so much smoother.
Yeah.
True.
That's awesome. Okay, so we'll transition to talking about successes and the F word that I don't particularly like. But I'd love to hear your perspective on how do you personally define success? And what do you consider some of the greatest resources that the iSchool provides that might have helped you in your successes so far?
How do I define success?
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I think I define success with anything that makes me happy, which is like really big, but there are also very like few things that I realize that I do like, which actually are like not just like to put on my resume or like to talk about in front of like family and friends, but like things that I actually like. And that's a success. And it's also like a success to like, where do I draw the line of like, this is how much I can give in outside of like my work and like everything else, like extra efforts. And this is where like I have to draw the line for myself. And I think that's a success. In terms of the resources that I think the iSchool provides, the career advice I think is really helpful. Informatics advisors at all times are like really like if anything related to academics, so like, oh, I want to do like a research capstone and not like a normal capstone, like who do I go talk to about? I want to attend like GHC, which is like a really big women in tech conference, but like I don't have the money for it. How do I do it? Stuff like those kind of questions, or just like having someone there to like be there for you. I think the advising team is really good with that.
I have to agree with the happiness part. Adds a lot of it. I don't know. I kind of combine success and failure a lot together. I kind of see them as the same thing. I've failed a lot, and honestly, that just has led to my big successes. And so I don't know. I kind of define it as like your learning curve and where you are. But I don't know. I like for me, I've had more experience with like failure leading to success, so it's just like it kind of comes in a train, sadly. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to describe that. But for resources online at the iSchool, definitely the advisors, Doel and then Tori, which is no longer there. But we have Blade now, so we have a new advisor. She's awesome as well. Check her out. They really helped me when it came to, I don't know what I'm studying, to I don't know how to manage my time. And so they were really there for me and to help me out and to like really like slow my breaks down in my head and say, okay, just like breathe, you're okay, and just like take it a step at a time and really breaking down like what I'm gonna do within the next year and like what to look forward to. So the advising team really helped me a lot.
I'm gonna ask y'all next, after a brief intermission, to share about your failures, whatever you deem as. So at least one specific example of something that you thought was a failure that perhaps helped you grow or develop as a student or a person, and also what you did to recover from that. But before I go there, does anyone have any questions? No? So before I keep going, I want to show you how I came up with these questions for this class. So hopefully if this shows up correctly, all the questions that were submitted for week 2 are on this page. It's a little small, sorry. Okay. And then I grouped the 60 or so questions that were submitted by the class into different themes or schemas, metas, whatever you want. And then I tried to find ways to not repeat the same question, right? But I'm showing you this to show you that your classmates are asking the same questions that you are. And I tried to pick the questions that will be most relevant to the most number of you. but in no way is it comprehensive. So when I leave room for questions, I'm not just trying to make things awkward with the silence. I'm just acknowledging that it's probably not sufficient to answer all of your questions completely. So I focused on the things that were most relevant to this topic, which is success and failures. But let me show you all the questions that were submitted that I just didn't have room for. Look, I grouped them into social, study, info, miscellaneous. Look at the number of questions that were asked about study compared to social. No questions about sleep, which is very important, right? So all of you are asking a lot of questions about study. We're gonna answer these, but we might not get to them today, right? So just a view. And also, if you want your question to be prioritized for the next section, the way that I prioritize is what are the topics, what are the questions that are most relevant to this week's topics, right? So next week's focus is on-campus involvement. So I'm going to prioritize the questions that are most directly relevant to that topic. There were some questions that were asked this week. For example, like what extracurriculars are you participating in and how they contribute to your personal and professional growth? That's a great question. And these panelists would be happy to answer that, but I had to deprioritize it because of the topic for this week, right? So I really mean it. I read every question, but not every question might get answered here today. Okay, back to failures. Would both of you like to share one specific example?
Yeah.
Are you ready? I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay. So for failures, I guess the number one biggest thing for me was getting into informatics. I didn't have a traditional route to the UW. I'm a transfer student. I didn't get accepted my first time either. So when I first came to the UW, I tried to get in informatics and I actually was rejected. And that took a lot because at the time, because I'm a transfer, I had to decide whether I want to do a 5th year, which is I'm doing right now, or do I want to do something else I'm not passionate about, or do I go to a different college I really don't want to go to? A lot was in consideration, especially money, because I'm first generation and low income, so it's hard for my parents to pay, and I don't get tuition. I don't get financial aid really. So it was just a lot of things to factor in, my family, myself, my mental health. And what I did for that was I sat down. I actually went with Dwell and I sat down. I went through my whole application process, and he let me know like where things fell apart. And the biggest thing that I've learned and that's helped me out a lot is how to turn like failures into successes. So like instead of getting like bummed and sitting down, just being like, dang, like I did not get in and now I don't know what to do. Trust, that did happen for a couple of days, but just really turning it around and just really looking like, okay, so like I can definitely use this into my advantage. And so just really not really focusing on the parts that I did well, but more focusing on the parts that completely fell apart and just strengthening that for the next time around and taking classes that can make me stronger as like a student and as an individual. And so just honestly, just like looking at reevaluating and seeing failure as an opportunity instead of looking at it as a failure, looking at it as an opportunity to improve in areas that may not be your strong points, and that's okay because we're not strong at everything we do, you know. So things take a lot of time, things take a lot of learning, and as long as you take the time to really step it through the things that you need to do, the failures will definitely turn into successes.
Yeah. So it sounds like part of your recovery was kind of like a perspective shift to appreciate failures or mistakes as opportunities for growth and learning.
Yes.
Cool.
So I think last year, junior year, was one of like my toughest years. Because I never like thought it would be like I thought the struggle would be to like get into my major and then like everything's going to be okay. Like the biggest struggle when you come into UW is like you have to get into a major. And junior year I started out and I was like, okay, I'm in my major and now I need to look for an internship. So I went to like conferences, I like messaged recruiters, and I was like, okay, I'm like looking for a data science internship. How can I get involved? I got some like responses back. I like got some interviews scheduled, and I thought it would be like around this recruitment time, which was like October to December, and I thought I'll have like some sort of like accomplishment of like an internship finalized by then. But no, they were like, oh, you don't have a PhD, you can't do like a data science internship, or you don't you don't like you, because I'm an international student, so it's like we can't like sponsor your visa, or like you'd have to like, I don't know, like you didn't do like good like well in this part of the interview, and like there wasn't also like a lot of feedback that I was receiving. And I like interviewed for I think approximately 30 companies, which like takes a lot of
You
work.
interviewed for 30,
Yeah.
not
So,
applied, you interviewed for 30.
Yeah. So, and there are like multiple rounds
Oh
of
my
interviews for
gosh.
each of them. So if I realized this recently, but I think from October of second week of last year till May of like, I think May 1st is, yeah, May 1st of like this year, I had an interview every week of like whether it was like a phone interview or like a whiteboard interview. And that was a lot. Like it was a lot to get. Like I know like every Friday I would open my email and I would have like 10 places which would say, thank you for applying. We would not like be going ahead with your application. Like I knew it was like a Friday routine. I would open it and that would happen. And it was a lot to like take in because like you like listen to all these people like, oh, we went to a career fair and we got in like we got an interview and then we got a job. And I'm like, that doesn't happen to me. Like, what am I doing wrong? And there wasn't also a lot of feedback that I was getting, which just like made everything harder. And like I think I started talking to like more people, and maybe it was because I wasn't like prepared enough. Just maybe like I had to do more in terms of like interview prep, and also like kind of maybe be like having a little different career path. Like maybe I'd have to go to grad school and not like go into the industry right after. And I still didn't know what I was going to do for the summer. And then what was like funny was that the place that I got rejected from, like one of the places, they emailed me again. So they're like, oh, we rejected you, but we would like to still have you on board. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like that's never happened. And then I interviewed with them again. And then like 2 days later, they're like, oh no, like, sorry, we can't take you again. I was like, okay. 1 month later, they emailed me back again and they're like, now I think we're like really interested in you. I was like, what is wrong? Like, what is happening? Like, that's also like, I've never heard that happen to someone. And like, they were like, oh yeah, I think like we're ready to take you on now. Like, we have the money to like get you on board. So like, please join us. And I was like, okay. Finally.
So you joined them?
Yeah, that's where I interned this summer, which is also like awkward because I was like, you rejected me twice, and like I'm still here. But I think throughout the process, I learned like maybe like what I started out doing. Like I'm a person who like plans everything, and sometimes it's okay if things don't go to plan, and it's just like really hard to like accept that fact. But you should still like keep working hard, like have your like goal in mind. It's okay if you like have different paths going to that goal, but like don't stop working towards it. Something or the other would work out.
Thank you for sharing.
If you feel comfortable sharing, would you mind saying what company that was?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. They're like very open about it now. It's a startup in downtown Seattle called Accolade. I think they're coming to like career fairs next week too. So like tell them like don't reject us again.
And you ended up doing an internship focused on data science there?
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was cool.
So you shared a bit about how a lot of the challenges that you faced when you were searching for your internship was the employer's preference for more experienced candidates with higher degrees. Do you have any tips on how to navigate those kind of difficult conversations with employers?
Yeah, I think I got a lot of like feedback from people saying, oh, we did like your resume didn't go ahead just because it doesn't have like a master's or like a PhD. And I was like, okay. And actually someone from the iSchool kind of helped me with this. There was this like person who just graduated who's an alumni. She interned at Google for a UX research position. And she told me like she had a similar experience with this. And she's like, you should just ask the recruiter what kind of skills you're looking for. Because a lot of times in school, we know those skills, but we just don't like articulate them the exact way that the recruiter is looking for. So we might be like less experienced in it, but you should like talk about how you're always like open to learn. Sometimes it's also like a good idea with like industry research positions to talk about. I'm open to like doing a grad school degree later on. I'm just looking for some work experience right now. So like telling them that, okay, this I'm not looking for a full time, but just like going for grad school later. Yeah. So it like kind of depends on the employer, but I think the skill thing really helps out with most cases.
Yeah.
So always be honest with employers, recruiters, anything. So during orientation week, I was at a Tapia Diversity and Tech Conference in San Diego. And
Tapia?
Tapia, yeah.
What is that?
Oh, that's just the name of the person, Richard Tapia. Like
Oh,
that's his last
okay.
name. So it's the Tapia Diversity and Technology Conference. Programming. So it's a lot of CSE people. And so Cynthia, the diversity chair for the informatics school, she came along and she's like, I met somebody at Cisco. Her name was Tia. Go over there and just say what's up. So I was like, okay. So I waited in line for like half an hour. I finally got to her. And so she gave me an interview because she knew Cynthia, she was like, oh my gosh, she's so awesome. She's like, I'll give you an interview. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, and then she was like, I'm like, what's it for? And she's like, well, we're looking for software programmers. And I was just like, okay, like that's not what I do. I'm like, okay. And she's like, what do you know? And I told her, I'm like, well, I'm learning Python like as we speak. And then like I've taken like cybersecurity classes, so I know how information moves from the ground up. And so she said, okay. She's like, okay, like Friday, 5:30. And I was like, okay. So I started like studying. I was actually up till 3 in the morning that night studying Python and how it relates to cybersecurity because I've never done the two. And I was just way over my head. And so the next day I actually went to her and I was like, hey Tia, I'm like, I actually just came to tell you that I'm not actually gonna continue with the interview. And she was like, why? And I was just like, well, like first off, like I'm pretty new to like Python and all that, and I don't know how it really relates. And I really like Cisco and I appreciate you, and I don't wanna interview and waste your time, most importantly. Like that's something I don't wanna do. And then she was like, oh my gosh, she's like, it's not a technical interview. She's like, I hate whiteboards. I don't even own a whiteboard. She's like, I just wanna pick your brain and how you think. So I was just like, okay. Like, so she's like, so she was like, you're doing it. And so the next day I go and I'm like super nervous. And so I didn't get an internship. And it's super hard because I'm trying to get a job with no experience and people see that. And they're just like, why don't you have an internship? And I was going through a lot of life things at that time, so it just wasn't on my radar. And so she was like, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm pretty nervous. It's my first interview. And she's like, oh, it's pretty late for your first interview of the day. And I was like, no, like ever. And she's like, so I was like 100% honest. And she asked me a question. And she's like, so I'm looking. And she's like, you don't have any software programming history like on your resume. And she's like, so why did you apply for this? And right there, like I started sweating. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, well, to be honest, like, yeah, I don't have a lot of experience and it's not my strong suit, but I am willing to learn. And if y'all are willing to give me the opportunity to teach me, I'll pick it up just like school and I'll put all my time into it until I'm up to standard. And so she's like, okay. She's like, so I like that. And so I figured out the puzzle and everything. And she ended up telling me that she loved like my responses, and the most important that was stuck out was like me going up to her the day before and like telling her I was going to cancel. Out of all things, that's what stuck out to her. And just because like it told her that I was like cognizant of my own capabilities and what I can do with a certain timeline, and that I'm honest and that's somebody that people want to work with. And I also told her I don't know to one of the programs. She asked me a little bit of programming, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. And so she was like, okay. And then she was actually opened up to me. She's like, I want to let you know, when I first applied to Cisco, they asked me 10 programming questions, and I said, I don't know to every single one of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, and then she's like,
got hired.
But she got hired, and she said the reason why she moved on to the next round is because the interviewer told her that they had 10 interviewees before her, and they all try to lie, and he can tell. And with her saying, I don't know, it really stuck out, to be honest.
Wow.
And she moved on versus the other 10.
Wow.
And she got hired. And so just always be honest and just always know like your capabilities. And And if anything, they ask you questions, you can say, I don't know, and just be like, I don't know, but I'm willing 100% to learn. Because as long as you show that, it's not a turn off in their head. That's actually really shows a lot more.
I think another thing is that like with all the rejection that I always like made sure to like email the person back and ask for feedback. Or just like say like thank you to them. Because like I've heard a lot of stories of like when like this didn't happen to me, but online I read like how people send out thank you notes and they like really appreciate like someone sending a thank you note versus someone just being like, okay, this interview is over, I don't care anymore. So I think it's just like good practices.
Yeah, it's good etiquette.
Yeah.
It's good professionalism. That's great. We have 10 minutes left in our class.
Oh, wow.
That one fast.
What would you like to hear from them?
How did you know you want to become a project or a product manager?
Actually, so I hold like a lot of hats on campus. So I've been like right now, like I'm a mentor for multicultural outreach recruitment for low-income first-generation students of color. And then I work at like the ACC. I volunteer with camp. I was an orientation leader. So like at one point, and then I'm a UGA president. So at one point, I was juggling all of that, and I actually like found it super satisfying just to like delegate different things in like different areas and like working across and like connecting them all at some point. To like work together and work with things I want to do. And that's like where I found like my passion, because product management is a lot with managing your team and talking across different teams to ensure all the specifications are matching to how they should be. And yeah, I guess that's how I learned. And then I took one of project management classes, and then one of my I'm also in a fraternity, and one of my bros is graduated from Informatics, and he works at Starbucks, and he was telling me about product and project management, and I was just like, that is 100% me, because I can program, I like it a little bit, but not that much, and I love talking and collaborating with other people, so that's just naturally that fit in my skills. Yeah.
Can you tell me what program management course you took?
Well, so now that, what is it,
380?
I think it's 380.
System analysis, information and system analysis.
Yeah, so that one's like a lot like a project management and how to do like business cases, timelines, how to like propose things to different companies, how to like really like show like budget, how you're gonna like do it in a certain time frame, how it's gonna benefit the company, the users, and all of that, and like really framing that to like you always have to dumb things down to like business people, like I don't know, weird as that sound.
Yeah.
Because
you have to explain technical concepts
Yeah.
in a non-technical way for business people to understand.
Yeah, which is really hard sometimes,
Yeah.
but a lot of the time, 100% of the time. And so just really like learning how to do that, and that was like one of my first classes I took that I liked and really like pushed me more towards it.
So I know like with info you can do like course additions and substitutions and stuff like that. Are there any classes that you would recommend substituting or non-substituting?
I think it really depends on the individuals themselves, just because my brain works way different than everyone else's in this room. But I don't know. Out of all the classes I've taken, the only ones that are like really rough to get through are like the ethics and research ones, but you have to take those. So you like all the other ones though. No, I really never thought about it doing it.
It's very case by case,
Mhm.
so you can bring it up if you have something in mind. But I would say overarchingly, the informatics curriculum gets reviewed regularly and it gets updated accordingly with a lot of feedback from students. So I would say that what you see as the norms right now, that's after a lot of revision and iteration. So that should bring you some level of comfort. But if you have a specific case in mind, then I think it's best for you to bring it up.
and yeah, they're still changing too. Like
Yeah.
we're like right now, actually, we're talking about doing some things like that internally, and so it's constantly like Naomi said, like it's just always changing, just to accommodate students.
I think it's also about your interest area though. Like I know people who are like more into like software development, they like to take more like CSE non-major classes. Versus people who are like looking into more like research. They like take HCDE classes. So it's like it really depends on like what you're interested in learning. Yeah, that's most of it.
Can we get a question from that side of the room?
I was wondering why did you want to become
So I never intended to come to college in high school. My advisors pushed me to work at the dairies because that's where I come from. And so I was actually never pushed to go to college. And I never did anything in high school. I barely graduated. And so when I got to UW and so many people helped me, I realized that they helped me, and honestly, they changed my life. And that's what I want to do. So that's why I'm a mentor to high school students. And I want to really help IUGA students because they're helping me. And it's such an awesome program. And they're preparing me for the rest of my life, to be honest. So I think it's really beneficial that I try to help the program as much as possible and help the future informatics students as well. That's what I wanted to do. And I have like, if you want to like learn more about that as well, like I have a video through like the Office of Minority Affairs and Diversity. It's on their webpage and you can look at that.
Any other questions?
Maybe like tips for anyone that's trying to do like the cybersecurity part of informatics at all? That's the both of you were talking about like other parts of cyber like informatics, but like I kind of want to do like data assurance and cybersecurity. So I would give any insight on that at all.
I think one of the like the track is really good, and then the other part of it is that I think that's the club is called ISACA, ISACA. They put up a lot of like good events of like connecting you with people from the industry. And I also know like a lot of the classes, like one of the good things about them is that they get in a lot of like cybersecurity professionals to classes to talk about their experiences. So like network with them even outside of class. So like, because as far as I know, and I could be wrong, but like cybersecurity also requires some sort of certification outside of school sometimes. And they would like help you like train for those and like prepare you or like provide guidance on how to go about that.
So ISACA is the name of the student group that focuses on cybersecurity at the high school. It's open to anyone. But I would say we also have a number of leading faculty members who do research in cybersecurity. Annie Searle is one that comes to mind. So if you're interested in learning more and helping professors with research, I think she's a great person to talk to see what you dabble in.
And then if you ever take any courses, try. I recommend Daniel Schwalbe. He's really hardcore. Like his microphone and all his laptops are jammed with a screwdriver and like everything's like. But he's really hardcore. But he really teaches the core concepts and really makes sure you understand how everything flows between computers and nodes and everything. So he's really cool. Check him out.
Last question for the panelists. What is the most important thing you learned through majoring in informatics?
Yeah, I think it's like keep the user or like the human aspect of technology in mind always. Like, no matter what you're doing, or like realize that you're designing or like developing stuff for humans at the end of the day. And that's how you should, like whether it's like good data practices or like databases or like project management, at the end you're dealing with real people and it's not like bots and just like technology. Like that's not where the future is going if you want. That's
For me, it's just learn how to ask for help. That's super hard. Even I will struggle with it on a daily basis, especially with the harder programming classes. Ask for help and like work with your TA, work with your professor, go to like tutoring sessions, because programming is really hard. I mean, a lot of them tell you to learn on your own, and that's super hard because there's so many different languages and ways to do things. And yeah, and I would just say ask, like, don't be afraid to ask for help and to take the extra time outside of class to really make sure that you know like what you're doing the proper steps and the proper techniques to do things, because one little thing can change a lot for the rest of your next steps. So learn how to ask for help, I would say.
Right. Ask for help, keep humans at the center.
Yes.
Great closing words from y'all. I just want to remind you that life is about choices, and choices come at trade-offs. So please remember to balance your study, your sleep, and your socialization. All are important, but you probably can't do all of them to the extent that you want to. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me via email or through Calendly. There are assignments for next week at the same rhythm as this week. So if you miss the deadline, then it's the same rhythm. But if you have any questions about the assignments or come across issues along the way, please let me know. Any final words or questions? If not, we'll give a hand for